fight. That's according to Atiku. Atiku, of course, is former vice president. Details of the story can be found on page 11. And then a strip headline at the bottom of the front page says Calabar Channel contract. NPA panel recommends payments. That's on page 46 in greater detail.
That sounds a little bit strange because the Nigeria Ports Authority has asserted that no dredging was done for the Calabar port. And it's surprising now that the panel that investigating is now recommending payment. Well, it's part of the investigation and the oversight challenges that we now have to live off with.
Well, this is a report by the audit committee set up by the NPA itself. As we said, the story is in greater detail on page 46. They're recommending payment. Of course, the indication is that the job was done, so they should be paid.
Well, we'll solve it. Meanwhile, there are indications that 33 private refineries that were given license, none have not been able to start because of three major challenges. They were given license to establish, approval to construct, as is the level at which many of them are stuck. And this is critically due to lack of finance. However, finance has been provided by an agency of United States government, and one Eco Petrochemical in Lagos is set to be coming upstream very soon.
All right, Baya Toebe, that's the most that we can take. Thank you for being here. We'll see you tomorrow, Tuesday.
Thank you very much, then.
Okay, it's still Good Morning Nigeria. We'll take a short break now. When we return, of course, we'll get into our serious discussion segment.
Chief. Good morning, sir. You are here already?
No, now my spirit day, my body day for house. What kind of question is that? Were you not the one that fixed this meeting for 8 a.m.? You are now coming by 10 a.m. and start asking me job questions.
But Chief, now, I'm sorry. Don't you also go late for meetings sometimes? You know now, African time.
No more African time. And no more pancaking of face during office hours. At the end of the day, we will lose valuable time. We will not make progress. If we want to move this nation forward, we must treat business as business and respect time. Change begins with me.
Thank you, sir. I'm sorry. Can we go for the meeting now, Chief?
Later.
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency in conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Marriage is a union between a spouse and the spouse of the spouse and the family of the spouse.
You're not only married to your husband, but to his brothers and sisters.
Oh yes, but only where that is sensibly convenient. Don't get it twisted. Marriage is as sweet as you make your home for your partner. He or she is not your slave or a workhorse, there to serve your brothers, sisters, and relatives to her own detriment or his own detriment.
It is foolery of you to have allowed your family members cause catastrophic quagmire of epic proportions in your marriage.
So says Professor John Bull, your rib-cracking comedy in this episode titled Married to Family.
They want to take advantage of my Philomena.
Over and out.
Brought to you by Glow.
The largest data network, Glow Unlimited.
All right, let's begin our discussion on a three-part conversation, of course, on national unity and stability, a recurrent subject. Now, it is a serious understatement to say all is well with the Nigerian nation, with a myriad of socio-economic political challenges compounded by various discordant utterances and agitations. In this background report by Timothy Yusuf, it takes a look at some of the problems hindering national unity and stability of the country.
Over the years, there has been crisis and instability in Nigeria arising from various issues and agitations by different groups and regions. These include restructuring, the so-called settlers and indigenship, ethno-religious, militancy, terrorism, inter- and intra-communal conflicts of varying degrees and dimensions, which have claimed hundreds of lives and left tens of thousands displaced. Some people are of the view that these crises were as a result of accumulated grievances, anger and frustrations arising from suspicion, mutual distrust as well as manipulative tendencies of the elites in the struggle for power and scarce national resources. These agitations became more pronounced under the civil rule, with the call for constitutional amendment to address the interests of the various groups. Perhaps these agitations prompted the DSS to convene a summit on the national unity and stability with a view to galvanizing ideas on how best to settle the issues once and for all. Acting President Yemi Oshibajo at different fora warned against divisive tendencies.
The truth of the matter is that where we have won, it is where we have not paid attention to religious or ethnic differences. Our football teams, because we want to win, we don't ask ourselves questions about whether the people are from one side of the country or from another, or whether they are Muslims or Christians, or whether they don't believe in God at all. All we're interested in is just score, just win. And I want to say that that's exactly where we should be as a nation today.
Other speakers agreed no less with the acting president's position, stressing that the time to address the nation's national unity question is now.
My plea is that let all Nigerians love their country so dearly, and if they do, then honestly they would accept the bad, the good and the bad, but if I mean try to improve, improve upon it.
It is better to create a platform for dialogue, to resolve issues, or rather discuss and resolve issues, rather than maybe the traditional approach that used to be just, enemies being pursued by those who presumably think that, they have differences or whatever it is. It is high time to look at this nation as one.
We are interested in finding lasting solutions to some of these, majority of these agitations. And the takeaway is that the more people talk to each other, the better for us.
They expressed optimism in the present administration's effort to address various agitations and hate speeches bordering on national unity and stability, just as guests on Good Morning Nigeria are also set to soon proffer solutions to the issue.
All right, Timothy Yusuf, thank you very much there for that very elaborate background report. Of course, as my colleague Claire indicated, this is a three-part conversation that we're having on the issue of national unity and stability, of course, on the basis of what we have seen in recent months and, of course, in recent times. We have guests with us here in the Abuja studios as well as at our Lagos Network Center. First, we'd like to welcome at this time a veteran journalist, Dr. Tony Radia. Dr. Radia, a pleasure to have you join us on the program this morning.
Thank you very much.
Okay. And then we also have with us in the studios the former Deputy Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, of course, familiar face on Good Morning Nigeria, Dr. Bedaya Melafia. Dr. Melafia, pleasure to have you on the program this morning.
Thank you for having me.
All right.
All right. Also on the panel this morning is the Director of Development Academy and Leadership and Governance Consultant, Dr. Okechukwu. Dr. Okechukwu, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
And from our Lagos Network Center, we have former Senator Adefuye. He's Secretary General of the Yoruba Unity Forum. We'd like to thank you, distinguished Senator. We also understand that today is your birthday. So on behalf of the GMN team, we wish you many happy returns.
Good morning.
All right. Well, it's a cast that we have already, all male cast, but Claire is here, by the way, so that balances it up. So, gentlemen, I'm sure we all live in this country. We have seen how all kinds of utterances have filled the airwaves, all kinds of utterances you also find on the social media and various platforms, and the various efforts and attempts, workshops, conferences, seminars being held to address the question of Nigeria's unity and stability. Nearly 57 years after independence, it remains, a recurrent subject, whether Nigeria is united, whether Nigeria is stable. stable, or how can Nigeria be united? How can it be stable? Which brings us back to the subject of a book written by Chinua Achebe in 1983. Again, we are familiar with it. The title of the book is The Trouble with Nigeria. That was on the during the Second Republic. We remember that. Today we are still discussing the trouble with Nigeria. Let's begin with Dr. Tony Reda. Exactly what is the trouble with Nigeria?
Well, thank you, Kingsley. I don't share that view that there's too much trouble. I want to believe that there's some need for some trouble, because without that, you sleep on your oars and you think that everything is going well. Growth has its teething problems, and a lot of people have to realize that in growing, you're going to go into a lot of issues which you must begin to tackle one after the other. I think the problem, if it must be called a problem, is that there's too much talk about the problem. There's not much done about the problem, or the so-called problem. All that we're doing is talking and talking and talking. For there to be unity, which is what everybody wants to talk about, there must be fairness. There must be justice. People must believe in what we call the indivisibility of Nigeria. People must believe in it. There must be faith. And without that, unity cannot work. If you make people believe, I mean, let's take it. Take the average young man today. Is he going to agree with anybody that he can get anything on his merit? If he's not going to get anything on his merit, then it's difficult to begin to tell him that he's a Nigerian and that he's the same with every other Nigerian, because we're only just talking. There's nothing on the ground to show that that's exactly where we're heading to, except we build a framework that enables everybody to see himself in that way. I was thrilled by the message of former Vice President Atiku, that if we want Nigeria to be united, then we must stop things like state of origin. Everybody is a Nigerian, so why do you want to know my state of origin? Why can't I be known for where I belong, or where I am born, or where I live? I mean, you go to countries that have multiple and diverse cultures and ethnic groups, they accept where people live. You are born in Atlanta. Your father is from New York. Nobody is going to say you are from New York. You are from Atlanta. You are where you live. So let's take place of residence, where people live. If an Igbo man lives in Kano, he's from Kano. Then asking him to leave Kano does not arise. But if you begin to see him as an Igbo man, then you are going to be telling him all the time that he should go to Igbo land, and so on and so forth. So I think if we can do something about seeing Nigeria as something that we all belong to and something that belongs to all of us, then we're not going to have any problem.
Okay. Let me pause you for a while now. I'm bringing Dr. Okechukwu. I will not look at it from the point of view of trouble. I will look at it from the point of view of need at this point in time. What would you say might be the paramount need, of Nigeria? Because some people have said, okay, this is what we stability and unity are, paramount needs and all that. And if so, why have they eluded us?
If you're speaking of need, what we need is for the average Nigerian to see equity in his interface with his country. It is the absence of equity that's breeding the sorts of things you're seeing, IPOB, ROS, and the rest of it. Because you ask yourself, assuming, like Tony just said, the average young person sees his future totally serviced by the Nigerian state, you call him out for a riot. What is interest in that? And then if you look at most of the youths who are involved, they're either unemployed or unemployable. Unemployable because some of them didn't go to school or went to school and only bought certificates, or they have no skills. So going back to your original question about the trouble with Nigeria, I think we take the question from the angle of trouble with Nigeria at which point? At the point of independence, it was the lack of consensus among the leaders of the of the federating units, if you like. The North didn't hold exactly the same views with the West or the East on whether we should have independence. The trouble with Nigeria during the war is that the war was executed without full consciousness of the fact that this is one people. This is a family fight. You don't do elimination in family fights. And so the blockade and the rest of it, the way the Biafrans were treated was It's like you want to exterminate vermin. Then the trouble with Nigeria after the war is that the Nigerian armed forces began to lose professionalism by their involvement in politics. And progressively, why we're where we are today is that as at the time the army was handing over to the civilians in 1999, Nigeria had become a criminal enterprise. And everybody knew it. Today, it is reinforced in the ruling elite, where you become frightfully wealthy because you are either a senator, a member of House of Reps, or a governor, and the entire community sits. You get all the chieftaincy title, you're praised in church, you're recognized everywhere. And everybody, including your cousins, believe that you're lucky because you got your chance to steal from Nigeria. So the Nigerian state has become like a sleeping man, and those who call themselves Nigerians are like mosquitoes, hoping to perch on it and suck. And when the mosquito sucks and comes back, you don't protest in the mosquito colony. That's why you see that if you pick up cases of corruption, those who are not happy are those who from, he's our own thief, go and deal with your own. So unity can never be decreed into existence. It cannot come by preaching. You don't introduce somebody's friend to him. Everybody chooses his friend. And confidence in the Nigerian state cannot come because governors, the president, and the others are making speeches. Also, I respect Alhaji Atiku Abubakar's position, but he must also work with a sense of history. The American reference is the ideal reference. But here, Americans were predominantly settlers. Nobody says we should, because the consciousness of, ethnic roots, wasn't strong immediately after independence. Why? But what made it strong was that the conduct of state policy was seen as anti-unity. Because let's face it, I come to your village now and I'm born there. You have certain cultural practices that are still very strong, unlike the more advanced environments, politically more advanced. And I come to Kingsley's village, that's where I'm born. I've lived there, I've had children. And I say I want this piece of land next to the Oba's palace. I must be drunk.
Well, unfortunately, all those lands, of course, already have their titles. So perhaps that's a good assignment.
But it was only hypothetical. In that you find me expressing interest in something that's so endemically part of public consciousness. Everybody will be shocked. Meanwhile, before now, nearly 50 years ago, people from, somebody was a councillor in Enugu. Igbos won elections in Kanu and the rest of it. What we see is a state that deteriorated into the primary elements that constitute a state. And you cannot reconstruct it by making speeches. We saw the seminar, very lovely seminar, where the vice president spoke passionately. But who was he talking to? People like myself, Tony, our friend here, in a hall that contained less than 500 people. And that's a national seminar on unity that's supposed to produce unity, where you're speaking to an elite that are watching their time for the event to end for them to go to something else.
All right, Dr. Okechukwu, thank you very much again. We'll come back to you in the course of the conversation. Dr. Obadiah Melafia, you listen to the two gentlemen who are with you here, Dr. Tony Rede as well as Dr. Okechukwu. Back again to the original poser. From your perspective, what is the trouble with Nigeria, if any?
Well, let me first of all say that I happen to be one of those who still believe in Nigeria. I believe that Nigeria is not a mistake because God does not make mistakes. Albert Einstein said that God does not play dice with the universe. So Nigeria is not an accident. I think that God is doing a thought experiment of putting such a diverse community of peoples together because we are the symbol of the black race. If Nigeria fails, the black race has no future. If Nigeria fails, Africa has no future. So we must make Nigeria work.
I believe in the manifest destiny of this country. But it is not born out of naivety. I'm keenly aware that there is trouble. There is trouble big time. And I'm not a politician, so I cannot talk politically, because one thing I realize with our elites is that what they fear the most is truth. They despise it. And anybody who speaks truth is seen to be a compound fool. The truth is that Nigeria is not working. The truth is that there is a severe crisis of nationhood. Look at what happened the other week. Some youths go into a church and gun down families and children. Is that normal? You know, killings here, killings there. Nigeria has the highest childbirth mortality record in the world, more than India. Can you believe? It's over 1 billion people. We have the worst carnage record for road accidents in the whole world. Insecurity is profound. Nobody is safe. You don't know where it's going to come from. And the elites have behaved very irresponsibly. And all of them have a vested interest in denying the truth. Nobody wants the truth spoken. Yeah? And there are so many lies and mythologies about our past and about the current situation. Nobody is really speaking the truth, and we have vested interest in denying it. There are very serious problems. There are those who believe that, look, the whole debate about restructuring, you know, there are two groups. One is very mischievous. To them, it's all about resource control. It's all about secession, and it's all about political mischief. Let's give them trouble, because when we're in power, they gave us trouble through Boko Haram, through this. So it's now our turn to get back at them. Then there are the genuine people, many of them patriots. Nobody can take a man, elder statesman like Chifanya Oku, as someone who believes in frivolities. He's a patriot. Of course, there are others. Atiku Abubakar is a politician. He has his own ambitions. And so we cannot always take everything he says for the gospel truth, because he's a politician. And, you know, so, but there are people who genuinely believe that we need restructuring, because there is a legitimacy crisis. Nobody knows who wrote the 1999 Constitution. It came out of General Abacha's smoke-filled barracks. Some say it was Uncle Jerry Gana who wrote it. Some say it is Yadudu. For all I know, it could be Yadudu or Dandaudu. I don't know who wrote the 1999 Constitution. So it's a very serious problem. There's a legitimacy crisis about it. They've gerrymandered many of the local governments. With the same average, the same population. Some people are saying, why should Kano have double the number of local governments than Lagos does? So all these things have created a very serious crisis. And then there's the physical crisis of the states and the local governments. Some of the states are simply unviable. There's Boko Haram, there is Fulani herdsmen, there are all kinds of groups. Nobody has been arrested. A lot of these people, especially the herdsmen, have not been arrested. So people are very bitter. The youth in particular feel that there's no future. And all of these things mean there is a major moral as well as spiritual crisis in this country.
All right, Dr. Melafia, again, let's put you on hold and bring in Senator Ade Adefuye into our conversation. Senator, you've listened to everyone here in the studio, of course, saying their own perspectives to the question, you know, what is the trouble with Nigeria? But something that caught my attention was when Dr. Kichuku was speaking. He did say that at a point in our sojourn, Nigeria became, in his words, and I'm not taking him out of context, criminal enterprise. How do you situate, in your view, the trouble with Nigeria?
Well, the trouble with Nigeria first is that those who are speaking don't even know Nigeria. Ask those with you there. Where is Fontua? Where is Akure? They don't know. They just speak from the narrow angle of where they come from. If you know Nigeria, you will not be talking about breaking up Nigeria or secession. If the Igbos say they want to secede, have they ever imagined that they could cut off Onitsha Bridge? Have they ever imagined that they could cut them off from Nigeria as secession, one of the threats? Nigeria cannot be broken. I was in the last national conference. There was nothing we did not touch. Some people are talking of regional government. When we got there, I went with the opinion that yes, regional government is the best for us. But when we got there, we saw superior arguments. People were saying that, look, even from Lagos here, they were saying they could not go back to Ibadan to take instructions again. Likewise, Ondo, the same thing in the east. They don't want to go back to Enugu to take instructions. The same thing in the north. Middle Belt don't want to go back to Kaduna to take instructions. So we have these basic problems. We must unite everybody. How do we start? All these schools we have, we should start from there. They should go on excursion. At least they should visit one state in one region every year so that they will know where they are speaking about, what they are talking about. Most of them don't know what they are talking about. People just talk about 1999 Constitution. There was no 1999 Constitution. There was amended Constitution in 1999. Nobody changed our Constitution. There was another amended Constitution which we are proposing now, which is what we are calling restructuring. Now, I was in the last conference, and I think everything that was done there was perfect, except for the creation of so many states, which I personally, even though it was taken just to balance some of the reasons which are being propagated by people who wanted states. But you can see that selfishness is there. You know, when most of the states now cannot even pay salaries, and people are proposing that we have 9 states per region just to satisfy some people, I think that was wrong. But take that away from that thing, everything there was perfect. Now, why did the president at that time, who put the conference together, why did he not see it to the end? That's the question, because that conference was concluded a year before he left office. But yet he did nothing about it. Now people are crying that, oh yes, this it should be done now. Well, if it is normal that this government will want to look at it critically, to fine-tune whatever is there, to ensure that they don't just take it hook and sinker. They will be suspicious of the reason why he did not continue with the promulgation of that conference decisions. So let us look at it this way. The National Assembly right now, they are also doing restructuring. There was nothing wrong if they tell the public that, yes, we are also having the 2014 conference with us, and we shall look at it together. It will calm nerves. It will calm nerves. Now, we have to be Nigerians, you know, to speak. Most of the people who come and cause trouble here, they are Nigerians who live abroad. Their brain has been polluted by foreign policies. Nigeria is a different entity. We must look at Nigeria as a different entity. Now, I took 2 weeks ago, I just went across Nigeria. I went from Lagos by road to Jigawa, Kaduna, Kano, to see whether I am out of tune from what people are saying. I found out that Nigeria cannot break. I went through this state and I saw they were the food basket. Now, I went to the Delta about 2 years ago, And I found out that what people are saying about Delta region is not true. The place is so developed, even more developed than the North, than the West. But when people speak, people who are here in the West, they speak as if that region was neglected. They speak as all these hate speeches, you know, do grow in people, most especially our children, our youths. They don't know the truth. Let the government come out and begin to say the truth to everybody. Let them show the state. Let them show what we have. And then everybody will be pleased. We have done very well, I'm telling you, apart from corruption. Apart from corruption, we have done very well. To have developed 36 states to the level for which they are now, at least 36 state capitals, to the level for which they are now, we have done very well for unity. You look at what is happening. Our problem started from the amnesty program. Once you give troublemakers amnesty and you are now paying them salary for not working and so on and so forth, it has encouraged other youths to take up arms. And if they take up arms, maybe you will now also give them amnesty and begin to pay them salary for not working. These problems see, until you have defeated your opponent. You don't give amnesty until you have conquered your opponent. But we gave amnesty. What did they do with the amnesty? What did they do with the money for the amnesty? They were buying arms, getting bigger and getting bigger to the state which we are now. So when we want to discuss stability, all these one state of origin, place of birth, all these were taken care of in that 2014 conference.
Okay.
All right, that's Senator Anthony Adefuye speaking to us from our Lagos Network Center. Distinguished Senator, I will return to you. In the course of the conversation, you've raised a number of points, provocative in a sense. I mean, that's the guys here will also educate. But at some point, you were asking whether the guys here know where Akure is. And then whether they also know where Funtua is. I'm sure they are veteran journalists. And then, of course, Dr. Melafia, the Deputy Governor formerly of the CBN, you had a branch of the CBN in Akure, I believe.
I did my NYSC in Akure. And I regard myself as an Akoko man from those states. So.
All right, and of course, Okechukwu, member of the editorial board of The Guardian, special assistant to ministers of information over the years, and of course now very distinguished citizen. You don't know where Akure is, by the way? Okay.
In fact, 3 months ago, I had a training, Human Capital Development Program in Akure.
Akure, all right.
My friend lives there, and Akure cooks good soup.
Okay.
I'm sure
all right.
that was a rhetorical question.
It was, absolutely. But the point, let's return now to the seriousness of the conversation. A number of points are right there on the table. Dr. Tony Redia, earlier you said, look, our challenge is too much talk about the perceived problem rather than action. And that what we're there to act on will be issues of justice, fairness, and equity. Okay, took a historical view of things to say, look, where did the race start to beat us? Senator Adefuye says, no, it's from the amnesty issue, which will be less than 10 years ago. Dr. Melafia says, look, we are faced with a severe crisis of nationhood. Dr. Iradia, again, how do we now begin to ensure that those challenges that we face, those perceived problems, as you may wish to catch them, are matters that we can overcome? When do we leapfrog the talking phase and then get into the real point of acting? Can we have an elite consensus on this?
Thank you. Well, I think we've really got to the right juncture now, talking about the way forward. I think that all this talk about restructuring, about constitutions, about all manner of rules and regulations, they are not really the issues. The British taught us how to govern, so they say. The British don't have any constitution. Yes, we are always talking about constitution in Nigeria. There's no constitution in Britain, and they don't have the problems that people are talking about in Nigeria. So the question really is not constitution. The question is attitude towards whatever is a constitutional agreement or constitutional write-up. I think that what is really missing is that people are not differentiating between the letter and the spirit of law. People are just taking the letters as it suits them. They are not looking at the spirit that led to writing those laws. We can take examples. Nigeria wants unity. They set up frameworks for unity. One of them, the National Youth Service Corps. What was the intention? To make Nigerians go to where they don't belong to receive them as ambassadors, to show them how things are in this place that is almost the similarity of where they are coming from, and so on and so forth. What is the NYSC like today? You post an NYSC person to an organization, he's rejected. So is that the intention? Was it to reject people that we started NYSC? We have a federal character principle, and there's a federal character commission. What does it do? Every day, people get promoted into positions they don't deserve, and then the explanation is that, oh, he's from a place that is not
represented.
And so federal character became a symbol of mediocrity. But that was not the intention. The intention was to take the best from everywhere. We are no longer doing that. And if we can do such things, we will be able to progress. Look, the Nigerian constitution says that the nation is a secular state. The principle of secularity. Is there secularity in Nigeria? There can be secularity if governors and those who are in government are sponsoring people to pilgrimages. Because if you sponsor people to pilgrimages, you have elevated the religions of those people to a state religion. Nobody is talking about non-Christians and non-Muslims. The truth is that majority of Nigerians do not belong to either Christianity or Islam. Even those who belong to it, they don't practice what they say. You see Christians who swear by juju, and they are Christians. Now, you see people who do all kinds of funny things. The way out is, let's make religion a personal affair. The way it ought to be, and the way it is elsewhere. If I want to go to pilgrimage and I have so much money, I can go and be doing so. But when government begins to do it, you can't tell me. And that's why today, if you appoint Kingsley, you must look for a Muslim to appoint next to him. Otherwise, there will not be peace. And if we continue like that, we're going to have problems. Look at issues that we can correct. Everybody has been complaining about devolution of powers. Everybody has been talking about, oh, there is need for us to distribute power so there can be balance, blah, blah, blah. It has gone to the National Assembly and they've thrown it out. Are they not Nigerians? Are they not hearing what we're saying? There are so many issues. You see, immunity. Governors, president, they have immunity. They can do and undo. A governor can take me to court, but I cannot take him to court. What kind of immunity is that? If he has immunity, then he should not be able to take me to court because I can't take him to court. If we are tackling issues like this and tackling attitudes, we will be able to solve our problems. The National Orientation Agency was set up to change our attitudes, to make people begin to think differently from how they think today. Now, what is national orientation today? It's an agency that is set up for employment, not for orienting anybody. They don't have the resources. They are not allowed to work. The rules that set up the agency are breached when it is being composed. So you begin to ask, why are we you go to the streets of Nigeria, you are driving, and there's a problem. And a two-lane road immediately becomes 14. So because of attitudes. And so we spend more time at that junction than we should have spent if only we had been patient and we had followed a line of thought that will make us know what to do. So I think that we should do something about our security. Our people are pleasure-seeking. It is the duty of government to turn our attention away from pleasure. But government is itself increasing it. I don't think Nigerians know that there's a Public Holidays Act. I don't think anybody knows. Now, the Public Holidays Act is a law, and that law says that if an event like Christmas, like Eid al-Fitr, if it falls on a Saturday, so shall it be. You cannot go and give it a Monday as a holiday. And we breach it every day. So we keep talking about rules. These rules are there. Why are we breaching them? It's cause of pleasure. People want holiday. If you are a strict leader, you are in trouble. So
let's say, Dr. Kechuku, you've heard now, Nigeria is in a quest for stability and unity. And as Dr. Iradia has said, we already have structures, to achieve that. Now, do we continue to drive those structures the way it is, or do we need a radical change?
The structures are nominal. They are disconnected from the psyche of the Nigerian. If you put food on this table for us to eat, all of us from the same plate, it is good table manners that will make me not to use two hands. when we're all without manners, we know the rules for how to eat, but we'll be using hands and legs. That's what's happening. When I say Nigeria has become a criminal enterprise, Tony's comments emphasize it. You have an orientation agency. The law setting it up is routinely violated in constituting anything connected with it. There's a Public Holidays Act. Everybody ignores it. And then the lawmakers are your representatives and my representatives, which means the dominant perception we have of any matter is what they are supposed to go and argue in our name. They don't. They argue what suits them. So when I say Nigeria is a criminal enterprise, you need to understand that the state has created within the people's psyche a natural and routine disposition to evade rule keeping. Natural and routine. You're made head of an agency, Claire, and somebody says, oh, give me a job now. And you say, you know, if you begin to mention the law setting up the place, they will look at each other and say, we thought Claire was intelligent. She's a failure. She has failed us. And you'll be hated by everyone. And you look at it, the economy, allocation of oil wells, there used to be rules for it, but it became discretionary under the military. So as Kingsley is, I allocate one to him and he becomes a billionaire. But going back so that I can connect all of this, the distinguished senator said Nigeria cannot break. I don't know how he arrived at the conclusion. He just might be correct. But I think he's speaking of breaking in terms of organized breakage. Nigeria can worse than break, which is disintegrate. Yes, he toured the country. He saw people doing their businesses, but he also didn't see the extant animosities they held that will make them at the slightest opportunity to either kill each other or burn down the shops. The thing about policy and reality is that the constitution we are holding onto at the moment actually makes it impossible for you to break Nigeria. If you want a new state, you go for a referendum in your state, you send it to National Assembly, you have another referendum, and then it's sent to the 36 houses of assembly. You know with that, you cannot create a new state. Because any state assembly that approves the creation of a state is actually saying, because it's a dog keeper's logic, this is the plate for my dog, you give me my dog food. Now you're saying another plate should come onto the dog food table, nobody is going to like it. So structurally, in terms of the law makes it impossible to restructure Nigeria, so to say, to redivide the states. But to sum all of this into the question of way forward, we do not, as I speak, have a leadership class that has a problem-solving focus. Otherwise, the members of the National Assembly wouldn't have bought themselves the cars they bought after Saraki took over. The presidency's attitude to major core issues will also be different. You mentioned the NYSC. How about the federal government colleges? NYSC, federal government colleges, gifted children's schools, all these were agents of national unity. I lived with my uncle in ABU when he was teaching there immediately after school started. One of my closest friends was Bala Dauda, working in the academic office. He schooled in government college, Umuahia. At that time, the states, not NYSC or federal government college, the states were doing exchange programs. So Kano will send some people to Bendel and all of that. Now, are those things happening? No. The principles under which the federal government colleges were set up are totally violated, at least as at 2006, when I was the Federal Ministry for Education. The one in Lantang had 97% quote-unquote local content. So instead of a school where you have people from all over Nigeria who will become the network for a new generation of patriotic and cosmopolitan Nigerians, everybody sends his own. The Emir sends a list, the retired general sends a list. So where are we going to? You now say, okay, perhaps the coming youth generation, there might be hope. There's Nigerian Youth Council. There's National Association of Nigerian Students. The Nigerian Youth Council, the youngest leader of any of the branches is not less than 37 to 48. So there's no youth. There's a disconnect. NANS, which is supposed to be for students in the last 25 years, has always been headed. One has always had about a minimum of 3 presidents. And in each case, each of the 3 has a jeep, that's a student leader. They are funded by politicians, and the students have become another disconnected component of the youth culture. And I'll sum by tracing the crisis further back. When the army took over in 1966, Awolowo, Zik, Waziri, all the leaders were put on hold for 9 years. Then the army left in 1979, and Zik came out at 75. He did not call to anybody he was too old, because that's the leader they knew. Now, by the time the likes of Bola Ige, Okpara and Co were to have taken over, Zik and Co were still in the field. And so you already had a generation, a disinherited leadership generation, and it kept building up. Then when they left, instead of going on with civilian rule, the army came back again, this time for 16 years. So you have two more layers of stranded leaders. And that's why some people will look at me and say, Dr. Kechuku, promising young. By what standards are you young after 50? You must be related to Methuselah. And this being a criminal enterprise is also at the conceptual level. We're unable to think through the steps we take in the name of intervention. Let us suppose Doc here is very active. He's known to be competent. You make him chairman of the committee for repairing the table. You make him chairman of the... You put everything on him, and he becomes totally dysfunctional. And then reports. What does government do with reports? Huge reports, the content of which is painfully not problem determined, because you see a lot of odds and not strategic action plans. Then you look at budgeting, national. Sorry, just one last point.
Yeah.
We used to speak of national development plan. Today you have regime plans, 12-point agenda, transformation and change. Within that, there's no conceptual framework for state policy. And that is on the strength of that I say, we have as a state today a criminal enterprise where those in positions are not embarrassed by the misfortune those that are supposed to be helping support.
All right, Dr. Oke, thank you very much. And gentlemen, of course, we'll continue with the conversation after this short break.
All right, welcome back. You're watching Good Morning Nigeria. It's happening live here on Africa's largest TV network, the NTA. And we're discussing national stability and unity, a recurring, of course, subject. We've got a number of tweets. We'll quickly take them and then continue with our discussion. Festus Akimboyewa tweets, hate speech is harmful to unity and stability, and lack of political will to punish hate speech in Nigeria is emboldening many to engage in this act.
Ibrahim Tudu tweets, we need a bill on hate, tribal, religious, and careless speeches. No nation can survive irresponsible citizens instigating hate.
And hate speeches, this is coming from Sam Orakwe. Hate speeches in Nigeria are being sponsored by politicians for reasons best known to them.
Lily Jack Solomon tweets, the dangers posed by the menace of pervasive hate speech, disinformation, and fake news is enormous. Let's remember the 1994 Rwanda genocide.
And Victor Hyosumwa tweets, Nigeria is better off united and stable. The government must take a holistic look at grievances of various groups and address them through dialogue.
Another one from Ibrahim Tudu, it says there was injustice, terror, and impunity in the land. Some people were benefiting from them. Suddenly, they are calling for restructuring.
Another one coming from Daily Jack Solomon, hate speeches must not be allowed to continue because it is detrimental to the unity and well-being of our country. NTA has a role to play too.
Sonny Michael Amakoji tweets, until we do away with nepotism, fanaticism, extremism, subversion, and individualism in governance, hate speeches will not cease.
Okay, and this is another tweet coming from Sam Orakwe, and he tweets, nepotism, selective persecution, and disobedience to court orders as aggravated agitations and hate speeches.
Tennyson Victor tweets, stability in Nigeria is difficult but achievable. Now, doing the right thing by the right people is our undoing in this country. Rather, not doing the right thing by the right people is our undoing in this country.
And Akins Dada tweets, Nigeria requires a social organizational re-engineering of the estates of the realm, not just geographical restructuring.
Another one from Dele Jack Solomon is the federal government through its ministries and agencies should engage the media and citizens to educate and sensitize them on the dangers of hate speeches to our unity.
And change to progress again, Nigeria elites must move away from thinking that Nigeria is their cake that they are just sharing. Nigeria elites must go to real work.
Ume Chimiezie tweets, hate speeches will simply be the immediate cause of disintegration. We must discover and solve the remote causes.
And this is Kelechi Idoko. Dr. Kechukwu has succinctly hit the nail on the head. Thumbs up. Well, sir. Well done to everyone in the house. This is a very good topic.
Emmanuel George, what tweets here says, Kingsley, your 1, 2, 3 speakers spoke well, and we are watching the elite this time. No grammar.
Yeah.
All right. Now, well, those are the tweets that we have from our viewers. Of course, the tweets have tended to focus on hate speeches. The extent of our conversation, from what you can hear from our guests, actually has to do with the issue of national unity and stability. Hate speeches have come in because they are the purveyors of ideas that also tend to threaten the nation's unity and stability. A number of points already on the table. Let's return to Dr. Obadiah Melafia. Dr. Melafia, one of the points that Dr. Tony Heredia raised has to do with the dissonance we find between the letter of the law, if you say the supreme law of the land, which is the fontes of Rego, the Constitution, and the spirit. Why are we lacking in the spirit of a piece of law, a piece of rule? And as Kay was saying, why is it that we have, over the years become, to put it a bit starkly, almost lawless? Why?
Well, with all due respect to my big brother, Dr. Heredia, I happen to be a student of the British Constitution myself. I think a lot of people tend to say that there is no British Constitution because there is no document. But there is a British Constitution. Every British lawyer will tell you that there is a British Constitution. It is written in the heart and minds of the British people. Both in letter and in spirit, it is written in the hearts and minds of the British people. And over centuries, English law has developed through equity and the rest of it, and the case law and all of that. So there is a British Constitution. In fact, there are whole courses on the British Constitution. It is just that it has evolved through convention and through case law and through equity. But it does exist, both in spirit and in actuality. Now, in our own case, and the point I made earlier is that, it's in particular, the 1979 Constitution. And please, this is not a frivolous matter. Nobody knows who wrote it. It is not based on the will of we the people.
Sorry, you said 79 or 99?
1999, sorry.
Okay.
1999, not 79, 1999. The 1979 one was well debated and so on and so forth. But the 1999 one, nobody knows who wrote it. There's a lot of tinkering with it, as the distinguished senator has told us, but no amount of tinkering will change doubts about its legitimacy, because it is not based on the will of we the people. I come from Kaduna State, and I can tell you, I'll give you an example. The 2006 census shows that Southern Kaduna are the majority in Kaduna State. What the 1999 Constitution did was to cleverly hive off a part of Southern Kaduna, Saminaka. They changed the name to a Hausa-sounding name, Lere, in a place that is 99% Christian. Changed the name and made it part of northern Zaria. So that now, today, they have 2 senators, we have 1 senator. This was an act created by the Constitution, because the constituencies are demarcated in the Constitution. There are all kinds of inequities like that. I gave the example of Kano and Lagos. With the same population, Kano has double the number of local governments. That is why people are in Bayelsa, they have only 8 local governments. They say, look, the oil comes from us. Why do we have only 8 local governments? Well, some people have over 40 local governments. So there are a lot of inequities that no amount of tinkering will change the doubts that people have. And let me face it, the youth of this country, they are the thermometer of this country. If you discover the youth of this country have completely disconnected from Nigeria, the only thing that they worry about is Nollywood, Manchester United, Barcelona, and that's all.
They were beaten last night, by the way.
Exactly. And they can fight over it. They can fight, over it.
You didn't add that.
Exactly. And El Mundo. Exactly. And El Mundo.
Z-World.
Exactly. Z-World and El Mundo. So these are the things. So why are our people disconnected? Because the institutions are not related to the people. They don't have an organic link with our people. That is a major issue, which we have failed to address as a people. Finally, let me also say this, that at the risk of sounding a little bit arrogant, I have to say that, look, every society is governed by elites. There's an Italian philosopher and economist, Vilfredo Pareto, who developed the theory of the iron law of oligarchy. There's always an oligarchy that rules. The issue is what kind of oligarchy, what kind of elite? Is it a parasitical elite or is it an enlightened elite?
A modernizing elite.
A modernizing elite. That is what we need in this country. We need an elite that have a sense of national purpose and destiny, who can come together across all the divides, religious, ethnic, regional, and have a sense of one nation with one destiny and one purpose. And let me also say this, we are not as divided as we think. The Edo people, where Kingsley comes from, the ruling house in Onitsha is completely Edo in origin.
It's not Kingsley that comes from Edo.
It's you, exactly. It's Dr. Heredia that comes, not Kingsley. It's Dr. Heredia. So, yes. Absolutely.
We will sort it out at the Abbas Palace.
Now, this is just an example. The ruling house of Ugwachuku in Delta State, where Konde Iguala's father is the king. That family originally come from Igala land. The real origin of Igbo in spirituality comes from Igala land. There's no serious Igbo man who will do anything very important and very spiritual without involving the Igala people, because they have that link and that connection. Okay? Not to talk of the links between Benin kings and princes and Ife and Oyo. And, an elder statesman like General Ike Nwachukwu retired. His sister his mother was the sister of Usa Usman Nagogo, the emir of Katsina. In Katsina, he's virtually entitled by law to become emir of Katsina. You see, because it says you must come from the family, whether from mother or father. His wife is Yoruba. His son has married a lovely Yoruba. What would you call his grandchildren? Are they Igbo? Are they Yoruba? Are they Hausa? Are they Fulani? They are Nigerians. So in spite of the birth pangs of our nationhood, I believe that a new Nigeria is emerging. It is just that our elites and our leaders don't have the creativity and the vision to tap into that potential to build a truly great nation.
All right, Dr. Melafia, thank you. You did, refer to the parasitical elite, and I'm going to direct my question to Senator Adefuye. Senator Adefuye, some people have said, look, those causing the stability, and disunity that we're talking about right now are mainly the younger generation, and of course, spurred by some clique of politicians. But has the elite shown the capacity to deal with the complexities that we're talking about?
Thank you. Now, let's take stability. If we want stability in Nigeria, we must fight corruption completely. We must eradicate corruption. 2, we must ensure security of life and properties. That we must do. 3, there must be credible elections so that people can hope to become whatever they want to become because the election is credible. 3, you see, the fraud came from privatization. People allocating to themselves oil wells instead of allocating oil wells to institutions that can benefit all Nigerians. So you make one man the owner of oil wells. And if this oil well comes from one region and you give it to somebody from another region, you create problem, instability in the system. So we must look at institutions, we must create institutions to manage all these things for us. You look at electricity now. We gave it to individuals. Now we have no light. We should have created institutions, strong institutions that can manage this electricity for us so that we can have light 24 hours a day. Look at the hospitals. Unless people now believe, seriously believe, that only if they go to private hospitals that they can get attention. Let us give confidence back that they go to these hospitals, you will have attention, and there will be medicine there. These are the little things that are creating problems in the mind of the people. Now, if you make it an elite situation, they can go abroad. Some of them even have private jets. They go abroad for their distance. Nobody cares about it. But let us have credible hospitals so that people, when they go to hospitals, they are healed. Let us have good schools so that when our children go to school, they are well trained. Let us have housing for everybody. Nobody will look at breaking up Nigeria or seceding from Nigeria. Everybody will want to be part of Nigeria. What do we do to the police? So that the police, we can have confidence in our police. What do we do to the judiciary? Now, I don't think people have so much confidence in judiciary again. I haven't seen the lot of corruption that is embedded in it. What do we do to it? So that when you go to court, you really get justice for whatever you've been there for. All these are the things that cause instability. This is our own system here in Nigeria. Let us perfect it. If we perfect it, everything will be okay. Nobody will be thinking of leaving Nigeria. If you have five oil wells and they all belong to individuals, 5 individuals, and these 5 individuals, they take the money outside Nigeria, then we are in trouble. Even if those people who stole money from Nigeria, if they keep it in Nigeria, it will not be as bad as we are now. But they take it to East Africa, they take it to Canada, London, and so on and so forth, where our Nigerians are only subjected to second-hand citizenship. So these are the things that we should discuss to enhance stability in Nigeria. Let us make life more meaningful to an average Nigerian. If you make life more meaningful to an average Nigerian, nobody will look at the elites. If you go to Britain, for instance, whether you are working or not working, you get paid because you have worked for it. In Nigeria, even if you buy shares, your share will just disappear and nothing will happen. If you buy shares and you think that when you grow old, these shares will be your pension, by the time you realize it, you have no more shares. Something has been done, it has been cooked up that your shares mean nothing to you anymore. So let us fight corruption to the minimal so that whatever you invest, you will get. So that if you go to school, our children will be educated. So that if we If we say this is the price of a commodity, that is the price of the commodity. Now you look at it. There was a drug war in Zubulu. Has anybody been arrested, even for the drug alone, not even for the shooting? Not for the shooting. That look, so this has been going on here. Let us pay attention. Let us have the drug security to go after them. You know, how much drug war do we know will see come on? We are just lucky that people detected in time that it was a drug war. They could have said it was a northern invasion. And if that had been the problem, you know what would have happened. Now, people are saying that the Igbos should quit the North. What have we done to ensure that come October 1, this does not happen? We must give confidence to the people that, look, whoever is saying this, they are being questioned, they are being arrested, and so on and so forth. Because nothing was done, you see some people even coming out to say they are going to create Oduduwa state. They are also moving away from Nigeria, and all sorts of hate speeches are going on. The security must do something. The government must wake up and do something. We cannot allow it to continue like this.
All right, thanks, Senator Adefuye Kingsley.
All right, yeah, just to, we take another set of tweets and then we get the closing thoughts of our guests with this first part of our discussion. Mike Ayanko has this tweet. Now, federal government should ensure that resources are equally distributed and federal character should be adhered to in appointments. And
Clifford Aguguse tweets, how many Nigerian leaders talk with boldness and conviction on the Nigerian interest, both at home and abroad?
Emmanuel George tweets, Dr. Tony Radia is speaking about the real issues in Nigeria. God bless him.
And Daziba Isete tweets, the truth about Nigeria is that our federation is not working because it's lazy and wasteful. Fiscal federalism will make states to work.
Now, this is Shakiru. Shakiru tweets, says if Nigeria goes for regional restructuring, there will be more hatred and crisis than love and togetherness.
And Mike Anyako tweets, one united Nigeria is still best for everybody, though we may differ in tribe, tongue, and so on. The hate speeches mostly emanate from this.
Emmanuel George tweets, Dr. Oke spoke exactly about the problems. Reference, states created to create problems.
All right, and this is coming from Goldman, and it tweets, how I wish the present-day political elites will be honest with themselves. Leadership is still the trouble with Nigeria.
Fega Mole tweets, that's Olufega, says what Nigerians need is economic restructuring. States do not need more power. The present structure does not support ordinary people. Well, this is the second set of tweets that we are taking this time. Well, gentlemen, we are on this home stretch for this conversation. But one point that we've talked on, it has to do with the role of the elite class and what they need to do. I mean, if you're talking about the elite, political elite, the business elite, the intelligentsia, the bureaucratic elite. Now, Dr. Tony Radia, what's your reaction to this? That part of the problem, or part of the major problem that we face in this country is that we have an elite class that does not appear to believe in Nigeria itself, except for themselves, which is why, as the saying goes, they have one leg in, one leg out. They are all over the world, and you ask yourself why the elite class of other nations are not here in Nigeria, except to come take our resources and go away. I'm asking this question against the background of some video that circulated a couple of months ago. I will paraphrase it. A angry young man said that mass burial should be conducted for all the leaders in Nigeria. Dr. Radia.
Well, I think we must give credit to those who are really angry about the elite, particularly the political elite. And I think it's only fair that we should put these things squarely on them, because I think the politicians just believe that the only thing that is important about the nation is politics and nothing more. Every other thing is about them. It's about the politician. So for me, I think that the nation must make effort to bring down the high quality that is attached to politics in Nigeria. You can imagine two of us graduates of the same school. I struggle to go and work in a place. Another person struggles to go and do election. He is earning his newspaper allowance is higher than the salary of the chief executive of an organization, because we are overrating politics. We have to bring it down. There's too much given to the politicians, so there's a fight to finish to get into politics. That we must do. Secondly, why are other nations doing it? What is the way forward? How do people do it in other nations? Today, the in thing is technology. And we are running away from technology in Nigeria. We can't have elections that are computerized. We can't have e-voting, because some people cannot manipulate that. And so they dissuade us from it, and we all accept. And they tell you, oh, Nigeria is not yet ripe for that. When is Nigeria ripe for that? Nigeria is ripe for GSM. Nigeria is ripe for digital banking, and so on and so forth. But it's not right for digital elections. Why? Because the people want to manipulate elections. I think that technology will help us, because it has helped so many other people. One of the things that technology can do for us is that it can stop manipulators. If I ask all of you here now one simple question: who is in charge of checking vehicle particulars in Nigeria? Do you know? Yeah, because everybody is checking particulars. Yeah. Now, the army is even doing it. Police is doing it. Road safety is doing it. Whatever you call them. Everybody, VIO, they are all doing it because it's very lucrative. But if there was technology and you can identify somebody's particulars right from the day he's taking it, you don't need to stop him at all. The thing speaks for itself. So technology, which is what we are running away from, is something we must imbibe. Otherwise, we shall have problems. Thirdly, and finally, let us stop running away from issues that we are going to get to. I used to be one of those who naively thought that we didn't need a state police. I don't think that we need a police that is so far away from the people. I think the police should belong to the people, the police should live with the people, and then they should be able to know who in the community, who is doing what. But the way it is today, no, the police we have today are those ones who go to say they are fighting riots.
I must stop you at this point.
Yeah, let me finish this. The last riots that were stopped, they told us that some miscreants took over the rioting. Now, all that we saw on television was those rioting and the policemen. So who are the miscreants?
All right, a rhetorical question. Dr. Kechuku, pathway to stability and unity, is it reorientation, value reorientation, or is it a form of intervention or structural readjustment?
First of all, the understanding that the definition of corruption is wrong in Nigeria. Corruption is distortion of values.
You have very few seconds.
Yes, right? And that distortion has led to the kind of leadership we have. Orientation, yes, but by whom? By those who need orientation themselves. So I think the first thing is to realize that the crisis of leadership, we must devolve. Namely, parents, religious leaders, political leaders, traditional rulers, all are failing their responsibilities. And the roles of state and local governments are totally taken out of the radar when people assess performance. It is my governor that should be my problem. So if we properly situate responsibilities for the wider citizenry, it becomes easy for people to engage at manageable levels, not always looking at the federal government.
Dr. Kechuku, thank you.
Yeah, Dr. Melafia, your closing thoughts, briefly.
Well, my closing thoughts are simply that, yes, there's a lot of trouble in this country, but the future of this country is bright. But that bright future will not come just like that. It will come through creative leadership. It will come through statesmanship. It will come through vision and courage. We should be able to have the vision to face our challenges squarely. Those who are using hate speech are, of course, wrong, but we should not dismiss them. We should look behind to find out why there is that hate that is creating the hate speech.
Dr. Melafia, we'll pause you. Thank you. All right, let's go to Lagos. Senator Adefuye, in less than 60 seconds, what is the immediate pathway to stability and unity?
Thank you. I think I'm very hopeful of the future because our children are well educated, they are more united, they understand each other more than we. We, the old generation, I think we are speaking from the past and we are afraid to go into the new into the new era. The new era is a technological era, and it will boost in Nigeria. There is no doubt about it. Nigerians are very intelligent. Nigerians are very enterprising, and we need to boost our industry. We need to boost our agriculture to ensure that it remains strong. I have no problem with the future. As long as this generation passes away, I'm sure everything will be normal.
All right, I beg your pardon, Senator Anthony Adefuye, of course, former Senator of the Federal Republic, would like to thank you, and Secretary General, Yoruba Unity Forum. Thank you very much, distinguished Senator, for your time. Also here in the studio, let me quickly appreciate former Director General of the Nigerian Television Authority, the NTA, Dr. Tony Radia. Thank you very much, sir, for your time.
Thank you.
And Dr. Obadai Milafia, former Deputy Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria. Thank you, sir. Thank you. And of course, Dr. Okechukwu, Dr. K. Okechukwu, Director, Development Academy and Leadership, as well as Governance Consultant. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your time. That concludes the first leg of our three-part conversation.
All right, let's go to our complementary segments now. In sports, we have stories of athletics as well as soccer.
Hello and welcome to sports. It didn't end as planned for athletics greats foreign scene now, and we join Patricia Esami Luba for development stories.
Hello and good morning. We're starting today on the foreign scene with the report that says U.S. former communications director Anthony Scaramucci has said there are people in Washington that are trying to topple the president. Anthony Scaramucci, who was sacked last month after 10 days on the job, had this to say: that what happens in Washington is that the president is not a representative of the political establishment class. So, whatever reason, the people have made a decision that they want to eject President Trump, inclusive in the White House, that are not necessarily abating the president's interest or his agenda. He said he had already named some of them when asked to identify those people. He added that the president needed to bring in more loyalists to carry out his agenda. And reports from Kenya have it that the opposition leader Raila Odinga has urged supporters to stay away from work today over the disputed election results. The leader said it will be a day of mourning for the fallen patriots after a rally in Kibera in the capital Nairobi. Reports say official results as provided by the Election Commission from last Sunday's presidential race gave President Uhuru Kenyatta 54.3%, and for Raila Odinga, 44.7%. The international community, however, urged calm following the outcome which the opposition alleges was fixed. The allegation by the opposition has sparked violent protest, with about 16 people reported killed since Friday. But by Saturday, the Kenyan National Commission on Human Rights in its own report said 24 people had been shot dead during the protest since Election Day on 8 August. Reports, however, suggest there are some discrepancies from these two figures. And that's about it on the foreign scene. More developments in our subsequent bulletin. Do have yourself a blessed day.
Thank you very much, Patricia Isameluba, for developments on the foreign scene. Veteran musician Segun Bucknell passes on at age 71 in Lagos. Abdul Malik Adio has a special package that eulogizes a world-class singer.